Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Lindsay and this is Life with Lindsay. Today we have WIP Chat. Sorry, I'm trying to turn my tiny human down. I just let her know I was recording, which inevitably means she's going to need something. Because that's just the way it works, right? Anyway, hi, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Lindsay. I do mainly diamond painting and some other crafting related content from time to time. It has been a little bit. But I would love for you to like, subscribe, hit the bell, hop aboard the Hot Mess Express. Let's all be friends. If you've been here before, hi, welcome. So, I am hoping that I'm starting to get myself into a routine where I can figure out the best times to record and get things up for you. The way it's been right now is like every other week I've been posting a WIP Chat. I'm trying to get back to every single week. But such is life, you know? It's been a struggle to find like a good sense of routine and all of the things that I need to do, all of the things that I'm in charge of in this household kind of stuff. I'm just grabbing a couple colors here. I am currently working on 2 witches. If you would like to see the unboxing for that, that is up in the eye. But anyway, if you guys don't know what a WIP Chat is, I'm so rude, right? A WIP Chat is when I work on my current WIP, WIP, which is work in progress. You can pull out whatever it is that you are working on and work alongside with me. It can be a craft project, it can be a household project. You can use this basically like a podcast, if you will. So you can just have it streaming in the background while you're getting things done, to commiserate, to whatever it is that you wanted to be doing. I know people, they listen while they're driving, which means you guys must have an amazing data plan while they're working, while they're avoiding work, while they're doing other things. So yeah, I think I've got everything. I've got some notes for the week. It's been very, very interesting. This kit is so freaking cute. Like, look at her little face, you guys. It looks so cute. I blinged out the other witch who is over here, if you're like watching. And I'm going to do the same thing here with her earring. Actually, you know what? Let's start with that. I did peach for the, or gold for the one, and light. I think I'm going to do light peach for this one. If I could open this up, that would be really great. I hope that you guys are all doing well. I feel like I've had a couple of people say to me, oh, it sounds like you're starting to get into a routine. And it's like, well, I appreciate that. I still feel like I'm drowning. I just feel like I'm able to like fake it a little bit better, which, you know, for lack of better description, I guess. I don't know. I desperately need to change my batteries in my timer. That's fun. I was talking about this on Instagram. You guys let me know. How would you feel if I did a random pop-up live on YouTube? Is that something that you guys would be interested in? Is that something that you're like, nah, I'm good, I don't need that? I think I'm actually going to do a combination of the 2 colors here. You guys probably can't even see that because of the red in the background, like where her hair is. But I just put light peach. I want to say these are from Shimmering Canvases. Don't quote me, but if that is accurate, come on. If that is accurate, I'll link, I think I have an unboxing for this. I'll link that up in the eye. Hopefully I remember all this stuff. If I ever say I'm going to link something in the eye and I don't, just comment or shoot me a message. You know, there's been plenty of times where I'm like, oh, I'm going to link this, and then I forget. Everything looks like it's about to fall off my desk. I am at the point now where when I am done this section here, I am well over halfway. I should have flipped it, because I don't have that much room left on my desk. Like, the amount of space that I have here is about how much I have above this, and my containers are just, everything is just, I don't know if you guys can see this. It's just relaxing. The top of the canvas is up here, so if I shift this, like, everything falls off my desk. It's super fun. Nobody's here for that. Anyway, I hope that you, I hope that you guys are well. You guys, just, I'd love to say just ignore me, but you're literally here listening or watching my video. Which, if your team watched the video, I'm impressed, because I don't watch WIP Chats. I listen to WIP Chats. Occasionally I'll look up from time to time, but, you know, this past week has been such a weird week. Trying trying to figure out where I want to start. I mean, I picked the color up already, so I should have some idea of what I'm working on, right? I am slowly starting to figure out what's working food-wise for our house. I am very much looking for crock-pot breakfast ideas. So if you guys have any great recipes, we've been doing a hash brown casserole every single week. Not every week, most weeks, and I'm really enjoying that. And you can doctor it up, you can change it, you can add it with biscuits, you can put whatever meat or veggies you want into. So like for that reason alone, like I like the versatility of it. And it's one of those things that's super easy to do. And for me, I definitely have some fun food sensory issues, which I have only been realizing as I've gotten older that that's what I'm dealing with, and not like, oh, you're insanely picky, because I'm not a picky eater, but there are certain things like that are just hard-nosed for. Like grapes are great, but like absolutely will vomit up a raisin, like ugh, gross. No thank you. And like I have issues with chicken and certain proteins. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. So there's a lot of people, if you are someone who in your life, you don't have somebody who deals with sensory sensitivities, or you don't have a kiddo on the spectrum, or a friend who has a kiddo on the spectrum, or that's not something that's like part of your everyday life. Some of this stuff might seem a little like, huh, to you, but think about it this way. I've seen a lot of people say, how come so many autistic children, which FYI turn into autistic adults. I don't know why that needed to be said, but you know, I think some people forget that. And they will eat goldfish every single time, but they'll never eat an apple. Okay. These are all just random things I'm picking, but there's a point to it. Think of it this way. If you are somebody who loves apples, if you eat a red apple, it tastes different than a green apple. Like a red delicious or whatever they're called have a totally different texture than like a Granny Smith. They're much more grainy, or they're a lot mealier. So imagine not knowing what the texture is going to be, biting into this piece of fruit or vegetable or whatever it may be. But you know that 100% of the time when you eat a goldfish, it will be the same. And that, my friends, is what dealing with sensory issues in food is so much like. There are certain things, like they say that kids will eat chicken nuggets because they're the same all the time. This is what I don't understand. I guess if it's like a McDonald's chicken nugget or a totally processed chicken nugget, it is. But for me, personally, and I'm going to move off this in a minute, but like chicken is one of those like very, very difficult foods for me, because in my opinion, it is never the same. But I'm also not eating, you know, processed chicken fingers or chicken tenders or chicken nuggets or whatever. But that's why things like that are so comforting. And that's why if you ever are somebody who is reliant on a certain food as your safe food, new and improved or new recipe is like a nightmare. Where people who don't have to struggle with these things are probably like, cool, let me try it. Let me form an opinion. Whereas other people, they can't even get over the anxiety of, let me try it, because that was their safe food. And that's just a little tidbit of what it's like for anyone who is curious. But yeah, I feel like everybody, whether you have food issues or you don't have food issues or whatever, like you've always eaten something. Like if you're eating regular potato chips, just regular Lay's potato chips out of the bag, and you're eating them, and then you get like that one bite that like is just super weird. Everybody goes, oh, what was that? I guess not everybody. Tell me if you guys hit like a hard spot in a food, or like for me, if I'm eating cereal and I take a bite and it's like a weird clump, like I'm freaked out. But I guess I can't say that everybody would question it, because I guess there's some people who would just be like, I'm just going to keep going. But anyway, this week, my husband took off a couple days from his full-time job so that he could catch up on some orders. If you guys don't know, my husband He is the DaddaMonster. He does custom Funko Pops. All of his information is always listed down below, so if that's something you are interested, you can reach out to him. He does do custom orders. That's like the primary part of his business. But he had some orders that he just needed time to finish them up and get them out because he recently went back to work outside of the house. And when I say it's been an adjustment for all of us, not just for me, not just for my daughter. My husband went back to work. My daughter started going to school full time. I mean, she's half day, but it's still full time. It's still 5 days a week. And it's been a lot of adjustments. So it was really nice. He took a couple days off. That also meant that he decided he wanted to cook a couple meals. But I had my whole, like, schedule in my head just totally wrong. I kept thinking one day was another day because I forgot my daughter was off Monday for Indigenous Peoples Day. Of course, they're not calling it that. They're just, like, in-service day. Where are the white ABs that I pulled out? Nope. Not you. Although, I kind of like... Nope, we're going to leave that. Well, I don't know where I put them, so we're not going to stress about that right now. I've been putting the white ABs in the pupil. I say that as if there's a lot of pupils in this. There's literally her pupils and then the other girl's pupils. But I'm going to remember, hopefully. And if not, they'll just be regular white ABs. I mean, white drills. Shoo, you guys. But anyway, because my kid didn't have school Monday and I was just so thrown off. Like, I kept talking about, we're going to do X, Y, and Z tomorrow. And then I didn't even realize, like, oh, that's the wrong day. So, everything was thrown off. Last week, my daughter kept saying to me, Mommy, I want to go skating tomorrow. And I was like, okay, but tomorrow you have a lesson. Thinking she was asking me on Sunday to go skating on Monday. And she has group lessons on Monday. And I didn't want to take her to public skate during the day and then a group lesson at night. But it turns out she was asking me on Saturday about Sunday. And I put down on my calendar we were going to do it Tuesday because we didn't have skate. You guys, I was so off. Like, I literally put down that we were going public skating on Tuesday. And then I realized, like, oh, I'm off an entire day. An entire day. So on Sunday, I ended up taking her to public skate. But because it was a weekend and it's a lot busier than, like, when I usually would take her, which I used to take her after preschool. As they have public skate, it's like 1 o'clock, 1 to 2:30, something like that. And it works out really well for us because well, she's half day right now too, but, you know, there's almost nobody on the ice. It's much quieter. But I like to go sit over where the penalty box and the benches for the hockey players are. It allows me to be close enough that I can see her or help her if she needs it with anything, like if she needs me to take off her jacket or give her gloves or whatever it is. And the bleachers for that particular rink are up a flight of stairs. So if she needs me, by the time I can get down the stairs, it's either too late or she's frustrated or whatever. So I like to sit over there. So I'm sitting there. And I'm, you know, minding my own business, and there's this girl. If I had to guess, this girl is probably 11, 12 years old. And if you guys have ever been to public skate at a rink, any rink, doesn't matter what rink, they usually have, like, skate trainers. They're basically like walkers for beginner skaters. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, they're just... It's to offer some sort of support. Now, I don't like them. Okay. I don't like them for a lot of reasons. Like, when my kid learned how to ice skate, she never once had access to that because they don't want to teach the kids how to be reliant on them. They want to teach them how to fall and properly get up and be safe and things like that. So this girl who, I'm going to guess she's probably like, I'm going to say like 11-ish, like 10, 11. I don't know how old I just said I thought she was, but I'm going to say, I would say like tween-ish. And she very clearly knew how to skate. And she was flying. Think of it this way. If you know how to walk, like if you're a baby and you know how to walk, and somebody gives you a walker, you're probably going to like hightail it, and now you can run because you have the equipment to help hold you up. That's what this girl was doing. She was skating around like speed demon skating and like getting in the way of other people, like not looking, just being very irresponsible. I saw no adults with her, but again, the bleachers are upstairs, so I don't know like if she had adults with her or if they were just up there. And then she got to one side of the rink and literally like flung it across the ice, which narrowly missed my daughter who was practicing her program and being responsible for once, which was amazing. But I then was like, okay, Lindsay, like, cool it. It's not your kid. And I was literally typing to my husband, I'm about to go off on somebody else's kid, which I am not typically that person because I would not want somebody parenting my child. But if we're in a situation where none of the adults are speaking up for their children or things are becoming like dangerous, like, I'm not going to sit by and let it happen. And I know that like that really bothers some people. And, you know, it's obviously not my intent to step on other people's toes, but I'm also not going to let somebody who's, you know, twice my kid's age, be destructive or dangerous or whatever when it could very much affect my child. So anyway, this girl then puts other people sitting on top of this skate trainer and literally is giving them rides around the rink. And I was like, nope, I'm going to the front desk. And of course they came, they told her like, you can't do that. We're taking the skate trainer. And at one point, like they got off the ice and took it again, which whatever. But I was so annoyed. Like, I'm so annoyed. What would you guys do in that situation? I didn't say anything to the kid directly because it wasn't my place to say anything to this child. But she was definitely being unsafe. And it wasn't just like, oh, it was my kid, I'll tell her to avoid her. Like, there was a rink full of people. And they don't have the lights on, which the woman at the front desk was, she's funny. She's like, is that going to be all right for you? And I'm like, it'll be fine. She'll make it work, you know. Because they try to make it like cool and hip because they have like disco lights going and stuff, but it's annoying. It's annoying. They think it's annoying. We think it's annoying. Of course, my daughter thinks it's super cool because, you know, when she's practicing during freestyle ice, there's none of that kind of stuff. And we haven't been to public skate in so long because of her schedule at school. Anyway, so, but there was a huge hockey tournament going on. So it was just very chaotic, like all day there. But I also had another moment this week, which I don't know if I'll remember to talk about it, that I basically told a kid, absolutely not. And it's funny because like if somebody said something to my child because my child was out of line, okay? Not just like my child was existing and you're pissed because that's your MO, which, let's face it, there are plenty of people who that's their MO. But this little boy just took like an entire shovel of sand and threw it. And not just threw it, but he threw it directly at my daughter with intentions of throwing it at my daughter. And his mom just sat there and did nothing. And I was like, absolutely not. We don't throw sand. That's not appropriate. That's not nice. And normally, you know, when something like that happens, a parent would go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Or they would double down and say, that's right, Joey. I told you we don't throw sand, whatever. This woman just did not give a crap. And also, well, I guess I'll tell you that story now. But her daughter got a ton of sand in her eyes. I don't know who put it in her eyes, how it got there. I just noticed the daughter screaming. And basically the mom was like, you're in a sandbox. What did you expect was going to happen? Just deal with it. And I was like, whoa, all right. So no wonder she said nothing when her son threw an entire shovel at my kid. And I don't just mean like she threw like a whole shovel worth of sand right on her. And I was like, that was intentional, bro. Like, and I'm trying to teach my daughter to use her voice like when it's necessary. Because she has zero problems screaming at the top of her lungs when, like, she needs a napkin. Or that she doesn't like that mommy looked at her. But God forbid a kid puts two hands on her and pushes her. She cannot stand up for herself. And she's gotten so much better. But it is something that I am, as a mother, trying to help her. Which... hopefully she understands, like, mommy's not doing this to be mean to you. if you allow someone to continue to treat you in a manner you don't like being treated, they're going to continue to treat you like that because you're telling them it's okay. And if you guys watched, I think it was my previous WIP Chat where I was talking about, like, my daughter was in a bullying situation at school. When she actually stood up for herself, like, that was such a proud mom moment for me. I don't know if that was my last WIP Chat or not, but if it was, I'll link that one. Let me make a note. La la la. Dot dot dot. So anyway, so I've barely gotten anywhere this week, but after public skate, her and I hung out. We picked up my husband because he was working that day, and then we went and got Chinese buffet. I need to figure out a better routine. What I normally do, and tell me how you guys make it work for your household. And I know it's going to be different for everybody based off of, like, what activities their kids have to do, or their spouses or whatever. Like, this is not just, I want to reiterate that when I'm talking about, like, mental load stuff and it, you know, all the pressures of, I'm not just talking about for, like, mothers. If you're the primary parent and you are not the mother, like, that's okay too. Or if it's you and your husband or wife or partner or spouse or whatever, but it's your job to do all of the domestic tasks. This is relevant to anyone in those situations. And I don't want anyone to feel like I'm singling anybody out because I'm talking about this in terms of, like, mom stuff. But this is relevant, like, even if you don't have kids, if you're the one who's in charge of making the grocery list, shopping the grocery list, making all the foods, making all the appointments, you feel the exact same pressures that I do. And I don't want to take that away from anyone because I know it's hard. It's hard for anyone in those situations, not just mothers. So I do want to just take a moment and say that while my language that when I'm discussing it may be revolving around being a mother, that's not my intent, okay? So I'm just going to clear the air there. Not that anyone has said anything to me, but so we ended up going to the Chinese buffet. But what happens to me is Sundays, I usually do all of the meal planning and writing out my grocery list and all of that. And then Monday, after I drop my kiddo off at school, I then go to the supermarket. Typically, my husband works like a regular 8 to 5:30 shift on Mondays. And then Mondays, my daughter ice skates. So typically, the best solution for me is to go after I've dropped my kid off from school, and then I put all the groceries away, get everything situated for dinner, because my kid, she ice skates at the same time that my husband needs to get out of work, so he usually just takes himself home. If you guys didn't know, we currently have one car. That's a different story for a different day, but when I do, like, my lazy lasagna, for example, he gets home before me, so he'll, at the end, throw in the noodles for me, and that's great. But this week, because my kid didn't have school Monday, it threw everything off. And I'm wondering if there's a better way for me to do it, but I worry if I do the grocery shop. I don't want to do it over the weekend because I don't like doing it when my kid is with me. It takes 3,000 times longer. She wants to touch everything. She doesn't want to be in the basket. She wants to be a big kid. She wants to grab things. She's like, let's get this, let's get that, let's get this. And none of it is helpful. You know, like, I appreciate it, kiddo, but that's not helpful to me. But there has to be a better way to do it, but I have yet to figure it out. So if you have any tips and tricks, please let me know. I am open to all of these things. Eventually, what I'd like to do, we have a deep freezer in our garage. Sorry if this is TMI to anybody, but when my daughter was nursing, I exclusively pumped, and I got to the point where I didn't have any room in our regular freezer. So we bought a deep freezer, and at one point it was full of breast milk. It is not anymore. My kid is almost 6 years old. And there's definitely stuff in there right now, like frozen pizzas or whatever, but it's not accessible the way it is. Super long story short, we would need to completely clear it out. My husband and I have talked about that, but what I would like to do is actually get, like, crock pot meals and plan them out and have them ready to go in freezer bags so that I could just grab the meal and let it thaw out or put it in the crock pot the way it is. I have never used my crock pot more in my life than I have since my kid has started school. Shout out to all the crock pot lovers out there. You guys are awesome. If you guys didn't know, I jokingly, but also seriously mean it. Erica from Kevin's Creations, I call her my designated adult, and she laughs at me every time I say that, because she's like, if you think I'm the one who knows the stuff, and I'm like, listen, you know way more stuff than I do, and that's all I need to know. I am constantly like, hey, if I leave my pork in for an extra hour, will it be okay? Like, I don't know these things. I don't think my parents ever even owned a crock pot. But anyway... I would eventually like to have things like that because I don't want to load my regular freezer up in the house with like pre-made meals or ready to go meals because I'd like my freezer to be for like freezer foods that I use for lunch, or like my husband, if he works really late, sometimes my daughter and I will just eat different things from the freezer just to kind of like work through what we have. I have so many frozen things from Trader Joe's. If you guys have a Trader Joe's near you, their freezer stuff is so, so good. And we have so much of it. But anyway, Monday, my husband worked, so we took him to work. And then my daughter and I went to Starbucks and we had a little mommy-daughter date. She loves their cake pops, which like every kid does. And I got her a hot chocolate, which she proceeded to drink like 4 sips out of. I think she likes the idea of hot chocolate more than the actual like execution of hot chocolate. Usually I just get her, I know this is crazy, I usually just get her like a cup of their ice water because it's like triple filtered. It's always super cold. And for some reason, like it tastes delicious. I don't know what it is. If you work at Starbucks, maybe you know, but it is so good. I don't know why. And then I decided I'm not going to do a full grocery load with her because it's just going to be too much. Originally, I was going to. But then I was debating back and forth of like, how do we want to spend the day off of school? What do we want to do? The weather was nice. And I decided to take her to a local like farm type place. They have animals that you can feed, and they have a ton of different things. Like you can go on a hayride, you can do like pick your own flowers, pick your own pumpkins, but then they also have a corn pit, a sand pit. What else do they have? They have a tractor that they've converted into a slide, which the little girl in front of my daughter did not understand how it worked, blocked the whole line. My daughter was like very concerned. That was super fun. But anyway, she went, she loves this place, and we haven't been in so long. It's local-ish to us, but I got there, you guys, and it didn't even dawn on me that like everybody was off from school, or almost everybody. So we get there, and I'm like, I've never seen the parking lot the way it is. Like, overflow parking was full. There was just a line of cars blocking the road trying to get into the parking lot. And I think what was happening, because it didn't seem like there were nearly as many people there as there were cars. I think a lot of people were having, like, the grandparents meet them. This is definitely, and, like, my daughter has had her grandparents come to this place with us. It's definitely a place that it's not super huge. There's not a whole lot of walking involved. So there's a lot of, grandparents there. And I think a lot of them were like coming separately from their kids and their grandkids and just things like that. And I really wanted to say something to this one woman. If you guys didn't know, one of the things that I struggle with a lot is the fact that my daughter doesn't have a relationship with her grandparents the way I would have hoped. Now, let me preface this by saying my mother-in-law, who lives the closest to us, would love one-on-one time with Briar. She just can't physically handle that. So, unfortunately, she's not the grandmother that I can be like, hey, can you pick her up from school? Or I have an emergency situation, can you watch her? And, maybe if we planned it out properly, we could make something work. But unfortunately, it just is what it is. But this woman was on the hayride. Her and her husband were on the hayride with their granddaughter, and she was talking about how, like, they come here all the time with her. And I just really wanted to say, like, I hope that your daughter or son, or, you know, this child's parents, whoever they are to you, I hope that they appreciate how much of a hands-on, how much they have, what they have, because this is beautiful and amazing, and I wish I had that. And you know, sometimes it's harder for me to just kind of like look into the world and realize that, like, I don't have that, because I had that with my grandparents, at least with one of my grandparents growing up, and it's hard to sit by and watch and know, like, it's never gonna happen for my kid. She's never gonna have, you know, sleepovers with her grandparents the way I did, and sometimes it's just a hard pill to swallow. And I just hope, I know that person has no idea who I am. They're not watching my channel. They're not watching my video, but I hope that they know, I hope that her kids or grandkids, whoever, know how lucky they are to have such hands-on grandparents. So we did that. We spent hours there, and I literally pulled into the parking lot, and I was like, I can't get out. I don't know where I'm going. I could not tell that there was a teeny tiny little aisle that they had made for cars to exit. It was like a one-way. And as I'm sitting there, like, contemplating, like, all of my poor life decisions and how am I going to get out of this parking lot? Like, there is nowhere for me to even turn around. Somebody gets into their car and drives away. And I'm like, okay, well, now I found a parking spot. Perfect. I parked, and then I was like, I will figure out how to get out of here afterwards. We did the corn pit. We did the sand pit. We fed some animals. We went on a hayride. She was not super excited about the hayride because for some reason she had it in her mind it was going to be a haunted hayride, even though I had very clearly told her it wasn't. Something has changed with my daughter over the last, like, month or so, that all of a sudden she was so excited about all the scary things, and now she's, like, super freaked out, and I don't know. My guess is she was talking to somebody at school, and they told her, like, they made a comment, because she, like, sleeps with, like, a creepy baby doll in her room. It's not even a baby doll. It's literally, like, a zombie baby, and it's supposed to be, like, decor. And it is creepy. It's creepy AF, you guys, but she loves it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna let her run with it, because, you know, why? Why would I squash that? But now, all of a sudden, like, she doesn't want to push the buttons when we go to Spirit Halloween. She doesn't want anything that's automated to go off. So I don't know what changed. I don't know. But she just had it in her mind this is going to be a haunted hayride. And mind you, it was, like, the middle of the day. Take some water real quick. But, yeah, I don't know. But we did that. We had a really great day. And then we came home and we went ice skating. And the next day was Tuesday. So my husband, that was his last day of work for the week, if I remember correctly. We went back to school. And then after I picked her up from school, I took her with me to the market just to get a couple things. And that was fine. But of course, she was thinking I was torturing her. You know, my kid is, I love her. She is fiercely opinionated and wants to do things how she wants to do them and doesn't want to be told we have to do a boring task. But I was like, girl, it doesn't matter. Like, we have to, or we have no food to eat. If I remember correctly, I literally got stuff for one meal, and our supermarket had an amazing deal on little pork butts, like pork shoulders, and it was buy one, get two free. So I ended up getting that. I used it later in the week. I made a Mississippi pot roast. If you guys have ever had a Mississippi pot roast, and you've done it with beef, and you like pulled pork, it's delicious as pork as well. If you don't know what it is, you could take like a chuck roast or a pulled pork, whatever you want, a packet of au jus, a packet of ranch seasoning, a stick of unsalted butter, a couple pepperoncinis, and then a little bit of the liquid from it. For me, unfortunately, our supermarket did not have any pepperoncinis that had no artificial coloring in it. So we ended up getting banana peppers, which were, pretty similar. And they don't make anything spicy. It just gives it like that acidity. And in case anybody else is on like a dye-free journey, Giant, which is a supermarket brand near me, Target brand and Walmart brand, the Great Value, are all dye-free. There is another like name brand one, I can't remember, but a lot of things like that, a lot of things that are pickled, including pickles, include yellow 5. So I had to just pivot a little bit, and I just put it in the crock pot for 8 hours and let it do its thing, and then I served it over mashed potatoes. My new favorite thing have been the ready-made potatoes from the market. I don't have to worry about cooking anything. Why do all of these drills feel like they are off? Because they might be. I don't have to do anything special. Like, they literally just go in the microwave. They are perfectly good the way they are. I don't have to do anything special to them. That has been my thing. I learned that the name brand definitely is far better than the supermarket brand, so I know that for next time. But anyway, I digress. You can do it with pork, you can do it with beef, but if you do it with pork, they also make really delicious, like, sliders. Put them on some ciabatta, some Hawaiian rolls, a little melty cheese on it. It's delicious. Anyway, the next day was Wednesday, so we dropped our kiddo off at school, and then my husband and I went to the market to do some grocery shopping for the rest of the week. Again, I normally go on Monday, and now I'm at Wednesday. Things were a little bit different. He wanted to make some food this week, which he did. He made shepherd's pie. He made a tortilla soup. I already had the ingredients I needed for my Mississippi pot roast. There wasn't that much that we needed to get at that point, just because of like the way we had been doing things, but still needed to get some stuff. We couldn't get a rotisserie chicken, which he needed for one of his recipes, which was fine because we would have needed to have we would have had change when we had to cook things. But it's interesting because when I was talking about in my one video, part of figuring out what to eat is also figuring out what to eat on what day, because I need to figure out based off of my kids' activities, when I'm going to be home, when my husband's going to be home, all of these things. So originally he was going to do one of his meals a different day, and I said, oh, are you going to do it in the crock pot then? And he goes, well, I don't know how to make this recipe in the crock pot. And I was like, oh, well, then when are you going to do it? And I think it dawned on him like, oh, this is what my wife has been talking about with having to plan out what meal goes with what, because we couldn't have done it on a day that we had ice skating on Thursday night. We couldn't have done it Thursday night because we would have had to completely cook everything before we went skating, and then we couldn't leave it simmering, so that wouldn't have worked, and then we wouldn't have had enough time to do it if we came home. So anyway, we figured it out. We made it work. But my husband and I did the groceries, and then he was like, I'm really in the mood for some Rachel's, but I don't feel like cooking them. So I was like, well, why don't we, pick the tiny human up, and we can go to the one restaurant that has them. My daughter is now starting to equate when daddy is off that we go out to lunch, or that they go out to lunch, because it happened like once, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, daddy's off, are we going to lunch? And it's like, no, girlfriend. And then I was like, well, now we're going to lunch again. So I think part of that is also that when I am not around for lunch, unless I've already completely pre-planned something for the two of them to eat, it's just easier for him to just be like, all right, well, we're going to go to McDonald's, or we're going to go out to do this, or whatever it may be. And there was another one of those moments this week. But anyway, we did that. We had lunch. The next day, my husband was still off, and I had asked him, I had talked to my daughter. I was like, daddy is off. Do you want us to take you to school? Do you want to take the bus? She's taken the bus home a few times, but she's only taken the bus to school once. And she decided she wanted to take the bus to school. So my husband was at home, and he was working, and I just walked her down to the bus stop. which was, it's like down the street. What is she doing? And so I took her to the bus. She got on the bus. She was very, very excited. She then told me that like 3 girls sat in the same seat together. And I was like, there's literally like 10 of you on the bus. Why are 3 of you in one seat? I didn't question. But she loves taking the bus. And then we picked her up from school. We came home. And then that day we had ice skating. And afterwards we went to grab some pizza. So we've done that before. It's only helpful if it's a day that my husband is off, because if he opens, I can't pick him up at the same time that she has to be at the rink. That's one of our biggest issues in terms of like time in general with ice skating, and my husband's work schedule. And so it was nice that it worked out. But what we do is we just place the order online. And I was hoping that I could set it for a pickup and let them know that it was for dine-in. But I couldn't figure out how to do that. So we just picked it up and then still sat there and ate out of our pizza boxes. It's such a pretty color. I feel you. Drill that doesn't want to lay flat. But anyway, so we did that and then we went home. And part of the problem too is these days that she has skating, one, we don't get home till like 6:30. The other, we don't get home till closer to 7, if not later. So it makes it hard in terms of like food, not only what to prepare, but what we're eating, because of how long that takes too, because that's now creeping into her bedtime, which I know we are getting closer and closer to having to bump her bedtime, which I'm not super keen about, but it is what it is, I guess. I don't really have, there's not much I can do at this point. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, so we did that, and that was really nice because the pizza place is like down the street, so it just makes it easier. And honestly, like the one time he's like, well, why don't we just take it home? And I was like, listen, if I don't have to worry about like cleaning up the dining room, kitchen area after doing takeout, like that would be much easier for me. And he's like, okay. It just depends. Like sometimes she's really not listening, and that makes things a lot more complicated, because I don't want to reward her bad behavior by being like, let's go out to eat. So that was our Thursday. Friday, I had a day with Erica from Kevin's Creations, also known as Kevin's wife on a lot of the social media platforms. If you guys did not know, Eric and I are in the midst of coordinating a diamond painting retreat. It is going to be a much smaller sized retreat than some of the other ones that are out there. But we had been trying to see the location for a while, and we finally were able to make an appointment, and it worked out really well because Brian was off from work, so he hung out with her. He picked her up. They had lunch together. Again, he took her somewhere to get smash burgers, but they were crazy busy, so he ended up pivoting and like taking her to Burger King. And so she, again, still thinks that when daddy's off, we go out to lunch. But it was really lovely, first of all, to have like that time, that adult time with somebody that is not my husband. Not that I don't love my husband, but like, you know, we all need to recharge, and sometimes that involves being away from the ones we love and with other people. And I don't mean that in like a inappropriate way, but anyway, so we went and saw the venue. And again, more information will be coming. My guess is you guys will hear it here before it's announced publicly anywhere else. Or maybe on Instagram. I don't know. But I've talked about this a little bit. I have some issues with the fact that like a lot of the retreats that exist, and obviously I'm not privy to every retreat that exists out there, but the ones that I have been able to gather information on, or ones that I have friends that go to, none of them are near a major, or near an airport at all, or near a train station or anything like that. So for me, it was pretty important that we found a location that would allow people to comfortably travel from out of the area if they chose to. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. It'll be delicious. It'll be wonderful. But after we checked out the venue, we then went to a bakery near me that had pumpkin flights. It was pumpkin coffee beverages paired with mini cupcakes. And sadly, as a pumpkin lover, I found it disappointing compared to the other ones they've had. So hopefully, like, the next batch they do is a little bit better. I don't want to say it like that because it wasn't bad. It just wasn't as good as the other ones they've done. But it was super nice to actually, like, spend that time. And then her and I, you know, we talked a little shop. We went over some different aspects of it, numbers, finances, things like that. So hopefully we'll have information for you guys coming soon. If you guys can hear my kiddo, I have the monitor down, like, to the lowest setting. I mean, it's right next to me, but she is just always got something to say. She's singing, she's dancing, she's partying. But he took care of her while I was doing all of this with Erica. And I have to say, like, my husband has never babysat his daughter. You won't find me using that language because he's a parent. He's parenting his child and does so willingly. Like, it's not like a kind of situation. And I know that's not the case for every parent. Some parents, they don't enjoy having to watch their own kids or spending that time. And, you know, we all know people like that, or we know people who are married to someone like that, or, you know, things of that nature. This, I can tell I am slightly off on some of these because I can see the symbol underneath, but not enough that it's going to, like, make me do anything about it. But anyway, after we did that, we had the flights. Again, my kiddo has ice skating, so I took her to the rink, and my husband stayed home to work. The whole point of him taking those days off was to work, and obviously we would have loved to have had him be able to just treat it like a bunch of days off, but we knew this was what he needed to do, and I wasn't my place to tell him no. You know, I'm fully supportive of him and his business and what he needs to be successful in that, and so that's it. Just that is what it is. But there's a woman at the rink. I don't care for her at all, and she obviously doesn't care for me, and that's totally fine. But I think that when you are involved in a situation where children of all ages are looking up to you, you need to, like, put on your big girl pants and act like an adult. So, super Cliff's Notes version, a while ago, I was at the rink, I was talking to another parent, and the name of the school that my daughter goes to is also the name of a school in a neighboring county. Well, she was being nosy. What is she doing? And listening to my conversation, and literally inserted herself and started talking about whatever we were talking about. And I was like, I don't think that's right. And she's like, no, it is. And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't think so. And then she was like, oh, you mean the one in that county? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, oh, I don't know anything about that. And then she kind of, like, sauntered away. And I was like, so I could tell that she felt a little embarrassed because she, like, was she was not part of the conversation. She was just overstepping her boundaries and being nosy and contributing. And that's fine. Like, you do you. But she was so knowledgeable because she was the school teacher for that school district. And I was like, okay. And then she wasn't because she was talking about the wrong school. So fast forward to her daughter skates the same time frame my daughter skates. Her daughter is definitely older than mine. I couldn't tell you how old she is. My guess is probably 12. I don't know. And she has been there and witnessed when my daughter is going off the rails, and I have to sometimes be a little bit loud with her because I need her to focus and listen to me, which I understand it makes some parents uncomfortable. But, like, if you had a way to get my daughter to focus, you know, I'm sure you would have already given me your 2 cents since I know that you're nosy and you can't help yourself. So anyway, her daughter forgot her socks. And she asked one of the other girls, who is probably like 3+ years younger than her, if she had a spare pair of socks. Now listen, my daughter does not skate in, it's basically like socks made out of like tights material. She does not skate in those because I was told that she just needs to skate in thin socks. So we have been wearing thin socks from our handmade shop from day one because they are very, very thin. And they work. They don't, and oddly enough, I usually have at least an extra pair or two in my bag. And so she asked the other little girl, do you have any socks that my daughter could borrow? And I just looked at her and I go, oh, I'm guessing you didn't ask me because my daughter's just so much younger than yours. And she literally looked at me, like snarled, and then went back to doing what she was doing. Didn't acknowledge me. Didn't say like, oh yeah, I didn't know, or like anything. And I'm just like, listen, I don't like you either. I didn't say this to her, but I don't like you either. But all of our children are watching us interact. And if you want your kid to be a good kid, they need to see you interacting properly with your peers, whether you like them or not, because how can we expect our kids to do the same if we don't model it for them? So that was super fun. I literally, I had such a laugh about it because I was like, this woman is so, I don't care for her. But I would have been nice to her in front of my child for the sake of modeling that behavior. And then, of course, under my breath, I probably would have been like, that bitch. But, and then Briar was like, we had socks. And I was like, yep, I know, kiddo. It's okay. She doesn't need to borrow our socks. And she's like, okay. So shout out to you, lady at the rink. Shout out to you. You can be a miserable human being, and I really pity the kids that have you as a teacher, because I know that you as a teacher have had kids in your classroom who are as difficult, if not more difficult, than my child. And you probably are real nasty to those parents too. Anyway, so my kid had a good lesson. She did really good. We're trying to figure out if she's going to be able to compete next month or not. She knows her routine well enough to do it. It's just a matter of her behavior off the ice. Is it where it needs to be? And there's one move that she needs to do. It's a backwards 1-foot glide. My daughter calls it a mingo. It's literally what it sounds like. They pick up 1 foot and they glide backwards, but she has to hold it for a count of 4, and she's not doing that. So she will get points taken off for that. But she doesn't understand. Her coach has to sign off and approve of us competing. Like, we can't just go to the competition if her coach says no. And then there's also chatter because my daughter skates at more than one rink. And one rink thinks she's ready to skate at a different level. But her coach does not agree, mainly because of her 1-foot glides. So that's, interesting. But this week alone, my daughter I was supposed to take her to see the Paw Patrol movie in theaters, but her behavior, that was taken away from her. And then, of course, it was like, you're the meanest mommy ever. And I'm like, girl, all it takes is you just listening and following the rules. Like, I don't have unrealistic expectations at all. I don't think so. I mean, other people might think so, but I don't think I do. I just have a child who, like most kids, you tell them not to do something, you tell them what the consequences are, and it takes like a time or two, maybe 3 times before that consequence keeps being instilled, that they realize like, oh, if I keep doing this, this is the negative reaction that's going to happen. My child just does not understand that, and she'll have things taken away from her that I tell her are going to be taken away from her, and she's just like, okay, and then does it again. So it's really exhausting. The next day was super gross. So listen, we've been trying to get to the pumpkin patch for like weeks. They're open on the weekends. So either it's raining when my husband is off or he's working. This is something we do as a family, which we will continue to do as a family. So for me, it was just like, all right, well, I guess we're not going to get to the pumpkin patch again, but let's watch a movie. So we watched, we were hoping to watch the new Haunted Mansion. She wanted nothing to do with that for some reason, which is interesting because we watched the original Haunted Mansion not that long ago, and she seemed to really enjoy that. But we watched The Descendants. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me talking about this in my story. We also baked some cookies and, did some fun things to pass the time as well. But if you guys follow me on Instagram and you saw this in my stories, it's going to be a repeat. But this is something that I think is super important. I'm going to touch base on it here, and I think that's probably where I'm going to end for the week. Which hopefully, you guys, fingers crossed, I have a couple unboxings coming to you this week. I have a new shop. I have my first Jaded Gem, which I was talking about, I think, in my last video. I haven't had a chance to unbox it or figure out how to do the one I want to do with my daughter without my daughter being on camera. Anyway, so The Descendants. It is a movie. It is like a people movie, not a cartoon movie. And all of the characters in the movie, the main characters, are all children of Disney villains. So the main four are the evil queen from Snow White, Maleficent, Jafar, and Cruella de Vil. It's their kids, and they go live on this island with, like, non-villains. And there's one scene in which the one who is Maleficent's daughter is, working with her spell book because she's trying to learn all these spells. Super long story short. We need to have a conversation. My whole little rant started because I had watched a reel of this woman, and she had posted a picture of her, like, sitting in the salon chair and then coming home and filming her family's reaction. She had two daughters. One was definitely older than my kid. I have to guess, like, 7 years old. I couldn't tell from the other one because she wasn't on camera as much, but, like, literally both of these children are just openly weeping. They're, like, mourning the loss of their mother's hair. And the one child just keeps saying over and over again, "Mommy, you're so ugly." Now, if this were me, I would have taken that as a teaching moment to be like, we don't judge, like, people based off their appearance and go further into it. But obviously she was doing this because she was trying to get that internet attention, and, like, you do you. I'm not here to shame that mother or tell her how to parent. But what I am here and what I am going to talk about here is, I know it may seem ridiculous to some people, but conversations about beauty standards, conventional beauty, appearance, things like that, people tend to not have those conversations till their children get older. And part of the problem with that is, if you have a child who you've never had these kinds of conversations with, when they see something that's different than what they're used to, they assume that different equals bad or ugly. And differences are something that we should be celebrating, not having these kinds of moments about. Now, listen, every kid is entitled to their opinions. Every adult is entitled to their opinions. But my daughter and I have had plenty of conversations that, first of all, beauty does not come from the outside. Beauty is what's on the inside. Everything on the outside is all just extra. We also talk about how different hair textures have different care to them. Like, somebody who has curly hair, it takes more time and effort to just wash their hair and get out the door because a lot more steps go into it. And we don't touch people's hair. Like, you can't just put your fingers in somebody's hair because it looks different than yours. And we've had conversations about short hair versus long hair. But this movie was perpetuating the stereotype that long hair dictates beauty and short hair is either ugly or masculine. So two of the girls, the characters in the movie, went to this character and they both wanted spells put on them to make them more beautiful. And by being more beautiful, what it really meant was they went from short hair to long hair. And I have a real problem with these being things that we're pushing on kids so young. People can sit here and say that they think that I'm, over the top or whatever it may be. But in reality, these conversations need to be had at home because they trickle into your kid's everyday life. It turns into situations in which they interact with other people's kids and they say things and they do things and they make comments about kids being ugly because they have different hair. What happens if your kid goes to school with somebody who, for medical reasons, they have lost their hair or they are losing their hair? Are you teaching your child things like this so that they understand that they're no less beautiful because they don't have hair? It may seem little and it may seem like not a big deal, but if you have a child in your life, it's really important to have these kinds of conversations because I don't need my child to think that her self-worth is tied to what she looks like, that she's more valuable in this world because she has long blonde hair. But that's where I'm going to get out of here. If you guys have made it all the way to the end, leave me some fun Halloween emojis. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry that I'm still super behind on videos. I will get there eventually, hopefully before my kids' school year is over. But, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more videos like this or nothing like this at all, please make sure to give this video 2 thumbs up. One real life, one virtual. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Come, join the Sparkle Squad. And while you're there, hit that notification bell. I do not operate on any sort of schedule. I operate on toddler standard time, and I record when my tiny human is sleeping or like today, sleeping. Thank you guys so much for being here. See you in my next one. Bye, guys!